In our first project, we're going to look at preparing and different paint finishes. First of all, we're going to take a look at painting new woodwork. Begin by rubbing down the wood with glass paper, always remembering to follow the direction of the grain. Never rub against the grain. Now brush down the woodwork with a soft brush. Remove any door furniture. On new woodwork, it's advisable to seal the knots, otherwise the knots can weep, which causes the paint to discolor. Apply the knotting with a small brush and leave it to dry. Secondly, pour a quantity of wood primer into your paint kettle. It's not recommended to apply paint directly from the tin. The reason for this being to keep out any dust and dirt, and it reduces the time that the paint is in contact with the air. Clean out the kettle after each use. With a small quantity of paint on the brush, apply in the direction of the grain. Hold the brush as you would do a pen, and apply using gentle strokes. Don't use a scrubbing motion. Leave the primer to dry. Now fill any small holes with a good quality filler. Use a spatula to apply it. Lightly rub down with a fine grade of glass paper, again following the direction of the grain. Now the door needs to be undercoated. Choose the correct undercoat that's recommended for your final paint finish. Follow the same procedure as with the primer, that's to say, small amounts on the brush, applied in the direction of the grain. Long, smooth brush strokes will give a high-quality finish. Cutting in around glass can be achieved with the edge of your brush. Note the technique. Alternatively, the glass can be masked off with tape. Leave the undercoat to dry. Lightly rub down as before. Now apply your top coat. There are many different finishes readily available. Full gloss, eggshell, and satin wood. These are all applied in exactly the same way. Remove any bristles that happen to come out of the brush. This is more likely to happen with new brushes. Here we're going to see how to redecorate previously painted timber. Remove any loose flaking paint with a scraper. Sand down with a coarse-grained glass paper. By removing your sanding block, you'll be able to get well into any intricate molding. Brush the paintwork and the floor down to stop your brush picking up any dust when painting. To remove any grease buildup, it's recommended to clean off the paintwork with a good quality degreaser and cleanser. Here we're using a powder form which needs to be mixed with water. Follow the maker's instructions. Brush the solution onto the paintwork, then wipe it down with a damp cloth. Your undercoat can now be applied. Following the same technique as before, any bare exposed timber will need to be primed. After this is dried, lightly sand it down with a fine glass paper and finish off with your chosen top coat, as before. Finally, we're going to see how to strip old paintwork and stain the wood. If you're going to use a hot air gun, wear protective eyewear and gloves. Heat the paint until it begins to bubble, taking care not to overheat it and scorch the wood. Follow along with a scraper, removing the paint. Now, this process may require some practice. Now sand down the woodwork with a coarse glass paper. Remember to follow the direction of the grain. Now brush off any dust. There are many different colors and finishes of stain available. Choose the one appropriate for your decor. As with all woodwork finishing techniques, apply small quantities. Spread evenly, following the grain. A second coat may be required, but remember to sand down in between coats. The more coats that are applied, the darker the finish will become.